My name is Chad Riddersen. I'm here with Epic Uncut Podcast. I'm joined by
Kyle Voss, and we are also joined by Ben Munoz. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I guess the thing that you represent, at least in our minds, is the search fund pursuit, the searcher. Now, yours is a little bit different based on my understanding. Some people are going and they're part of a fund. In your case, you have a rich backstory in your career that I'd love to go into. Yep. And this is a self-financed search that you're on. Is that correct?
That's right. I'm a self-funded searcher. The search fund industry is new to me. Now it's very popular with MBA students. It's a very accepted pathway to not go corporate, not go investment banking, but actually do a search fund if you're interested in entrepreneurship. When I graduated business school in 2007, it wasn't well known, but now it's very well known, and I'm entering that industry.
The one thing that I smile while I say it is you represent the I'm him career of education as well as your career. And for those listening, and I'm going to brag on you just because it's super impressive. You have an undergraduate degree at Stanford. You have that business school that you're referencing as the Kellogg School up in Northwestern. And then you also have a medical degree from University of Texas. Is that correct?
Baylor College of Medicine.
Oh, Baylor is where you were at.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people who are in this industry, they're like, the heck is going on with all that education?
Yeah.
Like, why is a Stanford guy coming into the septic industry?
Well, it's because I guess I'm opportunistic and I'm strategic.
Yes.
And so I am not tied to any specific industry, right? So I've got flexibility to choose anything that I want because number one is I love learning new industries.
Yep.
And also I'm looking at kind of the economics of all these different industries. So my background, I'm a software engineer, so degree in economics, software engineer. That engineering background really helped me in everything else that I've done in the future. Then I went to business school, and then between first and second year of business school, I had a near-fatal brain aneurysm that led me in an entirely different direction. So then I decided that I wanted to go into medicine and help patients. So I went to medical school. And then in medical school, I saw an opportunity with a friend to go into an e-commerce company. So we launched an e-commerce company, and I ran that over the next 12 years. Had nothing to do with medicine, but man, my technology background came in hand. So we grew that company from 0 to 500 employees.
Wow.
Recent exit, and now I'm looking, okay, what do I do now?
Yep.
So we can talk about that. Like, what do I do now? So I'm just wide open to all these industries. Any industry is on my radar.
Yep.
But through this process of distillation, and one of the things you do well is this really macro understanding of what variables are at play. I know you were talking about your engineering education, which you implemented not necessarily in a computer science engineering way. It got implemented in, I believe it was more process engineering. Is that how you were manifesting that in your e-commerce career?
No, both. We, in the e-commerce company, I developed the operations and the logistics, which is basically, just a big logistics operation. But then I also developed the software that ran all of that. So it was both, actually.
It was both.
It was a completely vertically integrated everything.
Okay. And then as you look at the aperture of trades, which have in many ways represented more recently the safe haven from what AI could disrupt, you're evaluating based on certain characteristics. Do you want to go into some of those characteristics that you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when Gretzky said, you go to where the puck is going to be, right?
Yeah.
So you take a step back and look at the trends. What are the trends? Well, AI is an obvious trend, right? It's going to be here. It's going to disrupt every single white collar job. It's going to disrupt finance. I went to medical school. I would not go to medical school now.
That's a huge statement.
It's a huge
statement.
There's going to be a point in time where any kind of diagnostics is going to be disrupted by digital AI. Musk believes, and he's like, it's hard to get a bet against him, that his Optimus robots are going to be doing robotic surgery at the top level within a matter of years, right? So he's overpromised a lot with Teslas, but he's delivered. Maybe a little bit late, but he's delivered.
Sure.
So medical technologies is going to be obviously we're going to still need doctors, but they're going to be doing very different things, and we're probably just going to need 10 or 20% of them.
Wow.
Right? So medicine, Okay, maybe not. And then I look at so you look at legal, legal,
Yeah.
like
All discovery gone.
yeah,
all
maybe
the
you need them for
paralegals-
negotiations.
Sure.
But in terms of like document processing and analysis of legal cases and
Yeah.
advice, no. So you got medicine, legal, engineering, software. Like software is tough. We saw the last couple of weeks these software stocks took a hammering in the market.
Yeah.
Like Adobe's down like 50%. Salesforce is down a ton.
And you were
All of this.
Yeah, and you were mentioning that AI can take reverse engineer a current, say for example, the CRM we use, Jobber, can reverse engineer it, copy it for a tenth of the price.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody today about that. We talked about, because I shared with that, and that was my intuition, and I wanted to confirm with an actual AI engineer, AI product manager, could independent software developers reverse engineer Service Titan and Jobber? Yes, and that's what the stock market is betting on right now too.
Wow.
So it's just an incredibly disruptive environment right now, and so for disruptors in every single industry, this is a great time.
For us, I think we recognize certain characteristics in the septic industry, but going back to some of those characteristics you were talking about, the AI proof, I think some of the industries that I understand you've been looking at more closely, septic, of course, water remediation, I think is another one. What are some of the things that have kind of distilled down to things that you're interested in?
So from my broader perspective, okay, so AI is a mega trend.
Yes.
Right? Which means that a lot of white collar digital industries are off, they're off my radar. However, like you either go really deep AI or you go really anti-AI. Those are like the only two paths.
Yeah.
If you're in the middle, you're going to get disrupted, right? So therefore, I started exploring home services industries, right? And so I started to talk to like friends of mine who are private equity guys, who are analysts in the industry, like teach me about which trade in which blue collar industries would be interesting for someone like me to look at. And so, yeah, I looked at water remediation, pest control, plumbing, HVAC, anything that and then septic, kind of just with open mind.
Yeah.
And like, all right, let's the economics of the industry and the disruption that's available like guide me to where I need to be going, investing my time and energy.
What are the pros and cons then of septic from your vantage point? Because there's micro businesses within the big business. Kyle and I have talked about this. Like there's the pumping side, which is a little bit different than the maintenance side, which is a little bit different than the installation side, which is different than the inspection side. Install is kind of its own little, animal. I guess as you look at the business, what are the things that are maybe causing you pause?
Other businesses?
Or other businesses for that matter.
I'm very early in my septic career, so I don't know enough about the segments within septic.
Sure.
But going, like, zooming out a little bit, right? Some very smart people in private equity. There's some very smart people in private equity, and so I take their advice very seriously when they're telling me that I should look seriously into these industries. Some of them are like water mitigation and pest control. And those are the two that they said, like, take a serious look, right? And so I did. And so what I've, I guess, concluded is that the reason private equity is interested in those industries is because they scale fast. They have a high ROE, return on equity. And they can scale very quickly, which is what private equity wants.
Yeah.
They promise their limited partners, their LPs, these returns, and they have to deliver, right? So they're going to be attracted by those industries, right? Okay, I understood that. It took me a little while to like dive into it and kind of understand the economics of why are these people so interested in that versus septic. Like they said, septic is a good industry, but they were not as attracted to that as they were to pest control and water remediation, right?
Yeah.
And so I dove into it a little bit more, and I was here asking people, asking industry experts, and asking operators, asking analysts, is like, what about septic? And I think what I've concluded so far is it's a different path, right? And so that's what.
And the interesting thing that we were talking about before is that a lot of the return on equity is based off of a discounted cash flow over a period of time, and people are very keen on the ramp. But what you seem to be looking for is longevity and durability, and that isn't always what private equity is going to be evaluating as a primary characteristic. When you look at Septic, how does that in particular stand out compared to a pest control or some of the other ones?
Yeah, that's the bottom line of it all. The bottom line of it all is that Septic is a long-term play.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit more of a ramp up to get up and running, but once you have that ramp up,
which creates barriers to entry.
You've got those barriers to entries. Exactly. You've got this moat that is going to be very difficult to compete against. And if you want to get up and running fast, okay, maybe other industries, but if you want that moat and are willing to invest into creating that moat, this is a wonderful opportunity, and that's why I'm here.
What about manufacturing like component parts or enabling tools for this industry? I think you've had some recent conversations in that realm. I actually don't know what your perspective is on that. What was the conversation? Well, what's your perspective coming into some of the tools, the picks and shovels, as they say, outside of the services here?
Yeah, it's just you're betting on the same industry. It's just a different play, right? It's kind of betting on the same industry. Is it going to be a stable industry? I mean, growth would be great, but stability is more important. So, 25% of American homes are on septic tanks, right? That's a massive
big number.
Opportunity, right?
That's the documented septic tanks. There's a lot of undocumented septic tanks.
Yeah, so like 27,000 septic operators in the United States is going to create a lot of demand for equipment. Yeah. Right? And so these equipment, maybe one day they will last forever, but until then they have to be maintained and replaced on a regular basis. So depending on like the entrepreneurs, I guess, capabilities, interests, that's another opportunity too. Yeah.
One of the things that I also respect about you is your ability to kind of metaphorically and even quite literally get your hands dirty. I spent way too much money on a degree and came out into the world where I had some certain expectations based off of my peer group and kind of my family that had financed a lot of that. I know there was a period of time for you when you were getting going on the e-commerce side that you literally slept on the floor of the fulfillment center.
Yeah.
Why? You could have not done that.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is like entrepreneurship and actually goes even more than that. So when I started on my entrepreneurial journey for the e-commerce company, I was making massive change, and there was fear, right? I was leaving at the time, maybe not now, but a very, very safe, stable career in medicine to go and start a company. And I was at the time like massive student loan debt, like hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt at the time, degrees. Right? Yeah. And I was just, all right, like this is crazy. What's the worst that could possibly happen if I fail at that time? Like,
go back to medicine.
I am. Well, no, I was like, what is the worst that could happen? Even logically, I know I could go back to medicine, but psychologically, I was like, this is very.
Let's just not fail.
This is like, it's not fun. This is like fearful. So I was like, what's the worst that could happen? I'm homeless and I'm on the streets.
That's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. I was like, so you know what? I'm going to force that. So I'm going to do that first.
Oh,
so I left medical school and I lived in my car for a month.
That's very stoic of you.
Very stoic. I lived in the car. That's like exactly. That's like Tim Ferriss says, like do the, be voluntary poverty is what he does, right? Yeah. So I lived in the backseat of my car for a month in the parking lot of an H-E-B grocery store. I was like, this is the worst it could possibly get. And I did it and I survived. I was like, okay, done. Like,
do you have any memorable nights or moments from that?
Yeah, of course,
Because does H-E-B allow you to do that?
No, you're not allowed. They have security officers that come around and they shine flashlights.
Where you're like, here's my degree. I'm not like
I'm a Stanford graduate. Just ran out of gas.
What do you do? Like when they come up by, how do you get by?
Head under the covers.
Oh, is that what it is? This too shall pass.
Yeah, but it was like a very intentional way to get over that fear of failure. Yeah. And then after that, great. What else could happen?
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, what's your message to somebody who may be a doctor or somebody with your pedigree, search funder types, with that fear, having an idea of wanting to come into an unknown industry like trades? What message would you give them?
Yeah, a lot of it is the emotions, right? You've got worry about what happens if you fail, right? And then my message is like, no one really cares about you that much.
Yeah.
Like no one really cares about what you're doing.
But
No
a
one's
speck of stardust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they may like give it like a second of thought and then move on to their own worries. So people are not really that worried about what you're doing, right? And in an industry that is like, get your hands dirty, like people don't care.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you need to do what's best for you and your family, and there's lots of opportunity here. And I think that's especially now in this moment that we live in today, where there's so many displaced, laid off product managers in tech, like, they're,
Do you feel like there's going to be a culture shift where people have been sitting in an air-conditioned office and, that's how they've made their living
Yeah.
forever? Do you think there's going to be a culture shift throughout America where we're going to have to get back to an industrial revolution
I think
type,
so.
where they're going to have to get their hands dirty and relearn how to essentially do manual labor? Do you think there's a
Yeah.
revolution coming?
I think it's good for the soul of America. that
Absolutely.
people
I agree.
get back to working hard. Like you sit in an office all day, you get osteopenia, osteoporosis, whereas you're up and about, fresh air, out,
Yeah.
around, moving, doing things with your hand it's good for you.
What's interesting is the lore in the tech world, at least the pundits in the tech world, are like, yeah, we're just going to have universal basic income. That's going to be the solution to what AI is going to displace, because we're going to create so much prosperity that no one has to work anymore. But what you represent seems to be a totally different thesis, which is AI is going to disrupt. The market may fall from wherever it was to wherever it is today. And you can't realistically just rely on some universal basic income to come save the day. You need to get your hands dirty. But I guess, what is your perspective on the tech pundit side of things?
Yeah, if it happens, fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Like that's great. But like it's not gonna happen
Might not
tomorrow.
happen.
It might not
It's
happen.
not gonna happen tomorrow. I guarantee you that. So in the meantime, until that until that actually happens, you got to do something.
Yeah. How do you look at, when we look forward for your career, you have this, interesting background. You look at these trades. You also look at bringing family and children into the world in the not too distant future. What do you architect for an education for them? And what do you want them to see in how you're cultivating a career?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I want them to be entrepreneurial. I want them to be hardworking. I imagine our life to be working remotely, but on a farm, so they can learn like good values, good American values, and that's all we can do for them.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to
That's
go,
awesome.
they're not going to be. I'm not going to be telling them to go into finance, medicine,
Sure.
legal, engineering.
Yeah.
I'm like, be flexible, learn good skills, learn how to manage people, learn how to work with people, learn how to work with your hands. Just a lot of really good general skills. Learn how to think critically, learn how to solve problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just speak for myself. Speak candidly, Ben. Like, getting to know you over the past couple weeks, like, you motivate me, man. You're an inspiration. I'm saying that from the heart. Coming out of the military, a lot of us who transition, we don't know where we want to land or where to go. We have this, like, expectation how others perceive us as well. Like, we have to go be an investment banker. We care so much about how we're perceived in this world, but meeting somebody like you who has done all the things that everybody dreams of, but you want to go right back to what you're like the anti that. It's really motivating and inspiring to hear and see. So, man, like, just keep being you and spread that love and that inspiration. Like,
Thank you.
It's cool to see. It really
Thanks.
is. Yeah.
Is there any final thoughts or comments? I know a lot of these we wrap with, like, you can go to this website and find more. But for you, I feel like you keep a low profile and people will hear about you when they hear about you. I guess any final comments or wisdom
For
that
the
you wanna-
world.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
No pressure.
I would say like authenticity.
Yeah.
Like just don't worry about what people think about you. No
Yeah.
one cares about you. Just do do what you think is the best path for you. I think is more because people spend so much time. I think it's like probably the fatal flaw of a lot of people is they care so much about what other people think.
Yeah.
And fancy cars, fancy clothes, like flashing. No, it's not worth it.
Well, you use the word fatal flaw, the phrase fatal flaw. when you faced a potential fatality personally, is that when you changed your mindset, or have you always adopted this?
I've always been a little bit like that.
Okay.
But I leaned into that a lot more. Yes, when I was in business school, a fancy business school with lots of fancy well, now it's just there because a lot of
we like McKinsey too.
Yeah, we like McKinsey with a lot of really smart McKinsey folks.
Yeah.
And people are sharing what they're going to do next. And there's a lot of pressure. So I did get sucked into that.
Sure.
But then after this experience, that was totally gone. And I just lean into doing what makes sense, regardless of what anybody thinks, which is why I'm here and interested in this.
One of the things, I know I'm talking probably too much on this, but the academic world is one where, for someone successful like yourself, you're right 90+% of the time. And then you move to the world of entrepreneurship, and if you get things right 10% of the time, you're going to make an extraordinary life for yourself, your business, etc. Was there, because when you were getting going, was the first entrepreneurial endeavor the e-commerce company, or were you a lifelong entrepreneur besides that?
Mowing lawns as a kid, lemonade stands. Yeah, I've always been go out and make things happen type of guy.
Okay.
But in business school, I thought I would go down the traditional path.
Yeah.
Until my, near fatal medical, and then I was going to work for myself.
Yeah. And that was really
that was it.
Well, how do we? So last question. How do we get people to think? How do we I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Why does it have to be a life-threatening event in someone's life for them to realize that? Because I feel like that's a big story, a lot of motivative. It's like, I was near death, I was about to die, and then I had this epiphany, and then I'd go finally do what I love.
Yeah.
Why do we have to push people to near death to realize that do what they love?
Because it's so scary. It is so scary starting something and fearing that you might fail, fearing it's really scary, but it can be overcome. I think sometimes it takes a near fatal emergency, but it doesn't have to. I think support would probably be how I would support, and Tony Robbins, probably a lot of Tony Robbins
that's
tapes.
very interesting.
Then support from other fellow entrepreneurs that we're in this together.
Well, you talk about fear of failure. In many ways, that's the closest thing to a fatality that one feels, and then you actually get between life and death situation, and you're like, oh wait, if I fail at this business endeavor, it is by no way means a fatality, even though it might have felt like that prior. I'm because you went through the Marines and you just got that beat into you right away. That this is
there is no. The Marines taught me there is no failure. The only failure is death or somebody else, and we train religiously on how to prevent that. You plan, but even in the fog of war is what they say. You only have a 70% solution. You can have the best plan in the world, but there's always that fog of war. There's always that fog of unknowns. Like, what is the enemy doing?
Yeah.
You can study your enemy until you're blue in the face. You don't know what's going to happen. But you have to prepare for it.
Yeah, and on that note, failure, I've talked to, I've had business challenges, and I've talked to mentors, and you'll be surprised how many of them have failed.
Yeah.
And it's just it's not a big deal. You think it's a big deal, but you talk to these older, more experienced serial entrepreneurs, and they failed multiple times. And as long as you don't quit, it's not really a failure.
Yeah.
It's a learning experience.
Yeah. We appreciate, Ben, you being a part of this podcast, as well as your friendship. We appreciate everything that you've done.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Ben. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Yeah.